sent out. Financials was a big area of interest for a lot of our employees. So we're trying to hit some of the interest based on the feedback that we received from our survey. Today we have Mr. Alan Frischer from Sage Financial, and what's really nice is he is local in our area. So in partnership with Aetna, which is our employee assistance program, they give us 20 hours a year of different types of services that they provide. And so he is in partnership with Aetna, which is our EAP program, but he's local with Sage Financial. And he's going to provide us with a presentation today. I also want to tell you that next month our free seminar will be on August 23rd, and it's on goal setting for life and work. And it will be at this location in the Space Coast room from 11:30 to 12:30. We've kind of found that that's probably the best time for everyone. So with further ado, we'll leave it to Mr.
Well, thank you. And we have a nice intimate crowd here, so I'll certainly invite questions whenever you want. Just raise your hand and we'll discuss things as we go along. This is a fun seminar for me because it's not about really diversifying investments or specifically on budgeting, things like that. It's more how to create more income for yourselves with your current income sources and expenses the way they are. So I think everybody's going to learn a little something today. So let's proceed and let's go on from there. Well, actually, let me tell you a little bit about myself before we go on. I do have my PhD in nutrition, I was telling you earlier. Prior to that, my undergraduate work was in economics and finance. My graduate work was nutrition. When I sold my health food stores, I went back into the financial arena and became a financial advisor and a certified divorce financial analyst. So I kind of work on both ends of the spectrum there for people, try to keep them out of court and when they're going through that stage of life. As a financial advisor, I sit down with many different types of people working to help them achieve their goals, budgeting for themselves, doing anything to help them make more money, that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to talk about today, how to really create more money for yourself on a monthly basis. That being said, can everybody see the slides behind me? Is everybody okay? If not, shift over, because I was told that I have to kind of stand over here because of the microphone. So forgive me if I'll duck if you need to see the slides. So do you have more month than money coming in? Do you run out of money before payday? How are you working with your expenses? The high cost of living in our area, using credit cards monthly. How many people use their credit cards on a monthly basis for anything? I mean, I do. Yeah. Right? People try to pay it off, but you use them on a regular basis. Why is that? Why do you use your credit cards? Convenience, possibly, right? I use it for convenience. When I pay my gas, when I go pay gas, I use the credit cards. It's convenient. Most people use that for convenience as well as some other things we'll talk about a little bit later. Emergency savings. Do you have enough emergency savings in case something happens in your life right now? Do you take vacations regularly? Do you ever take a vacation? These are things that we'll discuss. And are you saving for retirement like you had discussed earlier? That's a possibility. We'll talk about that. So the title of this is Help, I Need More Income. So how are we going to do that? Today we're going to talk about financial goals. We'll talk about something called the income gap, common solutions, and some creative options for you. 70% of Americans are struggling to meet their obligations right now. 70%. That's a lot of people. Why is that? Why do you think people are struggling to pay their bills every month? Anybody? What's happening? Why do people struggle? Yeah.
Are we living above our means?
People are living above their means. Expenses are high. The cost of living is very high right now, isn't it? Taxes, mortgages, just inflation, bills, food, common expenses. They're very, very high. So conflicts with spouses. I mean, one spouse might want this, another spouse might want that. So there's conflict going on. People are worrying about their finances on a regular basis. So we talk about diversifying your investments on a regular basis to help with that. What about diversifying your income? Has anybody ever heard about that? We're going to be talking about that today a little bit. And talking about multiple streams of income, where you can find more money in your monthly budget and in monthly living. We'll talk about paying down debt and increasing your savings a little bit also, and investment potential. Does that sound good? Does that sound something that everybody might need? Everybody might want? I think so. So this is strange. It's, oh, there we go. Ah, okay, so it's, well, forward and back doesn't necessarily get right where it needs to on this thing, so I'm sorry. So we're going to answer some following questions here to help you determine what are your goals. Is your goal to eliminate debt? How long is it going to take you to achieve those goals? So do you have short-term goals, medium-term goals, or long-term goals? What would be a short-term goal? Anybody have any idea what a short-term goal might be? Like paying off debt, possibly? Get rid of that quickly? Maybe dealing with your living expenses, whatever those are, pay that off on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. Medium-term goals, accumulation of money, maybe college costs, paying for a child's college. Maybe you want a car, maybe you want a boat, maybe you want a new home. That would be a medium goal. Yeah, I'm pressing this, but it's
I
not.
would use the mouse then, since it's not a PowerPoint, it seems to be have an issue. So
Okay.
the slider's right there.
Got it, okay. And just go down as I need it? Okay, will do. And long-term goals, retirement, as we discussed before briefly. Healthcare, you know, as we get older, we're probably going to need some form of long-term care for ourselves. 1 out of every 2 people are going to need some form of long-term care. So that would be a long-term goal. These are things that we have to think about. So are we saving enough for that? Let's go on here. So what do we need to do? We need to start with the B word, budget. And what I did was did everybody get one of these? A budget? Now, they like calling it a spending plan. And actually, I have something to perform here for everybody before we go on, because I think it's important. Everybody needs to know about this. I got the budget blues. Trying to make a list of all the things that I use. I got the budget blues. I can't believe I spend so much on frivolous shoes. I got the budget blues. Okay, that's my entertainment for the day. Budgeting is important, and what I have here is just a way for you to kind of track what your expenses are. People don't realize what they're spending money on. So the first thing that you should really do is make a list of that. And when you make the list, you'll be able to see really the difference between your needs and your wants. And once you do that, you'll be able to see whether or not you have a surplus at the end. After you list all of your expenses, you list your income, you take the income away from the expenses away from the income, and ultimately you have either a surplus or a deficit. So today, for those of you who have a surplus, you can leave. We don't really need to talk about that today. We're going to talk more about the people that have a deficit at the end of each month and how to create more money. And even if you have a surplus, I think most people want a little bit more anyway, so you could stay. I'm just kidding. So let's take a little bit of a closer look. I'm not going to go over each area of the budget. I just brought this in so that you can take, a look at it yourself and kind of understand where you are with it. There are things on here that people don't realize that they're spending on. Just briefly,
It's 5 pages long.
yeah, there's, home care, there's a lot on here. There's a lot on here. Clubs, travel, things that you don't really realize what you're spending on. So take that home, use that. That's, again, my gift to you. So after working on the budget and you're looking at your income and expenses, you're going to determine your needs versus your wants. Can I live without those frivolous shoes? Can I live without whatever it is that I have right now? Do I absolutely need this to live, or can I maybe put it aside, maybe make that a long-term goal instead of a short-term need or want? If I can live without it, can I eliminate it? Do I absolutely have to have that for myself or my family or my children? What is the true amount? And have I calculated all of that, for myself? Is paying off debt my primary goal? If it is, how am I going to do that? What additional amount of money, if I give up something, can I allocate that toward paying off debt. Now, why would you want to pay off your debt quickly? What's the worst part about being in debt? I heard interest. I heard the word. 25%. And do you know why credit cards charge that amount? Because they're allowed. Because they can, and they do. I remember once I was paying like 7% on a Capital One card. Out of nowhere, they raised it up to 22% for no reason. My credit was good, but because they could, they did. So I paid that off, and I've never used Capital One since because I won't use them for doing something like that. So if we're not saving now, emergency savings is a must. You have to put aside money for emergencies. How much of an emergency savings is important to have? Any idea? How many months worth of?
I've always thought 3.
Okay. 3 to what?
3 sounds
3 sounds
good.
good?
6.
6. Some people say 3, some people say 6. And you're both right. If you have a stable job and you know that the money is always going to come in, you don't have any worries about that amount of income coming in on a monthly basis, 3 months is generally okay. If your job may be a little volatile, if you think that you might be fired within the next year, 2 years, if it's unstable, I would have more. I would have close to 6 months of emergency. Now, where do you put that money? Banks? Credit unions? Wherever it's safe. Probably not under your mattress, but a bank is still safer than that, even though they're not paying a whole lot of interest right now. But it's still there, and it's still secured, and it's insured. So, I'm sorry?
Quick access.
Quick access when you need the cash. If the roof caves in, a plane hits your house, whatever the emergency may be. And I've seen that happen, by the way, where a plane hit one of my clients' homes. Okay. Oh, this one. So there's what we talked about before, the monthly shortfall. We have to take care of that. And we're going to be reviewing our taxes. Now, whether or not you realize that the government, and we all work for the government, they're a partner. They are our partner. And taxes eat up your income. So we have to look at how we're adjusting our taxes every year. Who gets back a large amount from their taxes every year? Nobody?
What do you consider large?
Anything over $1,000. Okay? Okay. Could you use that $1,000 in your weekly paycheck, or with a portion of it in your weekly paycheck? If you're getting over $1,000 back from the government, essentially what you're doing is you're giving the government an interest-free loan. They're not going to be giving you an interest-free loan. I wouldn't give it to them. Increase your withholding and take more for yourself, okay, on a weekly basis. And you can, on a monthly basis or bi-weekly, however you get paid, because you can use that money in your monthly income stream and pay down your debt. So this way, if you're paying high-interest credit card debt, increase your withholding, get more money, pay off that debt. Now you're using that money more efficiently. You should really have and try to make it less than $300-400 that you get back from the government every year in your taxes. If you're doing that, you're probably within the realm of doing things correctly. Okay? They have here 200, but that's a little tough to do for a lot of people. You can go to the IRS Gov's withholding calculator to assess your current withholdings. Just go online. They'll show you how to do that as well. How many people put money away in their 401k at work right now? Okay. How much do you put in? I'm not going to know the specifics, but let's say you're matched 3%. Do you put in more than the 3%? There's no matching? Okay. So you're putting away money into a tax-deferred account, and you're getting a deduction for that. Depending upon how much you need that deduction is how much you need to put away. Everybody should contribute to a 401k because it's still tax-deferred. It's still a good thing to get the deduction every year. But if you don't need it, or if you need the extra money to survive and pay off the credit card debt, maybe you have to lower your retirement contribution. That's up to you. Now, if there was a match, the typical calculation is put in as much money as you can to get the free money. Put in as much as you would for the match. And then after that, you could decide whether or not you want to put in more for tax deferral to have a deduction, or put it into other types of either investments or other ways to pay your monthly bills. So definitely get the free money, and then after that, you could decide how you want to do it. That might be another way of getting more money for yourself. Yes?
So we have the option of deferred comp, but then we also have pension here at the county.
Okay, well, the pension you're going to get anyway, because that's based on your salary. The deferred comp, again, that's up to you how you want to adjust that. If you need the deduction at the end of the year because you have other expenses, then you put that in, and it's all tax deferred until you use that money later on in life. Okay? The key age there is 59 and a half, or after you retire. Okay? 59 and a half. Why is 59 and a half an important age? Anybody? When you pull that money out after 59 and a half, there's no penalties. No penalties. You'll have to pay tax. Unfortunately, you're going to have to pay tax, but there's no penalties after that. Right? Otherwise, there's a 10% penalty with the IRS.
Is there a percentage that's recommended for the deferred comp if you don't have a match?
That's all individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all going to be individual. Right? No, it just depends upon what your individual, requirements are, what your expenses are. If you need the deduction, for instance, if you're paying a mortgage, you'll get that deduction on your home. Maybe you don't need an additional amount, or maybe you're putting enough in so that you get back in taxes over that $1,000. Maybe you're putting in too much. Maybe you can use that other money now, not put it into other investments that are paying more than your 401k. I don't know, and that just is up to the individual. If you're matching, definitely put in as much to the match, though. Okay.
You're at 457B, 457B.
Same basic concept, yeah. Same basic concept for the 457s as well as the 401ks. Okay. Benefits, employee benefits. Evaluate the benefits, the health benefits that you have. Sometimes people are over-insuring themselves. They don't need as much insurance as they have. Review those benefits. They do change every year. I mean, you get something every year that tells you the new cost of your health care, right? Maybe you don't need the health care costs that you're currently having. That being said, look at your automobile insurance. Look at your homeowner's insurance. Every year you need to do that. You can reduce the deductible. You can increase the deductible. You can reduce, other parts of the insurances to lower your monthly expenses. You can compare other insurance policies, other auto insurance companies, other homeowners insurance companies. I would advise everybody to do that on an annual basis. I just did that. And they came back and said, well, out of the 29 companies that we have, none of them match what I have right now. I'm still at my lowest, and I get the best coverage. So they went up a little bit, like $200 a year for me, so I have to suffer and go through that. But it's still the best coverage that I can get for my home. But I made the effort, and I checked it out. You need to do the same thing. There were other times where I found another company that was 30% less than what I was paying. That's money in my pocket. That's additional money in your pocket as well. So making these adjustments can increase multiple streams of income for you, and that's what we're looking to do, okay? What other ways can we increase our income? Well, we can work overtime, get additional money that way if that's allowed. Second jobs, most people don't really like doing that. And again, it's a need versus a want. Do you want to relax during the day, or do you have a little extra energy to do something maybe on the weekends? And when you think about a second job, it was funny. I had a client who was working as an IT person, and he was struggling to make ends meet, but he loved woodworking as a hobby. So I said, well, why don't you go down to like the Melbourne Fair and try to sell some of your woodworking? He started doing that, and he made extra money to pay all of his bills. It was great. And he's still, a client to this day. He loves me for that. And I have a nice clock in my office that he made for me from that. But that's a whole nother story. Some lifestyle changes might be important. You may decide to make some lifestyle changes. Again, if it's fun and convenient as opposed to what your needs, may be. Need versus want here. So let's talk about some of these ways of making this happen. The disadvantages and advantages. Disadvantages, of course, you'll have more responsibility now if you take on another job. You'll have less downtime. maybe a little less time with family. The advantages, I like working. I mean, I get up every day. I'm happy to be able to work, to go to work. I enjoy visiting and meeting people and contributing to society. There's an intrinsic value, to that. It's some intrinsic gratification for working. You can be more productive, and you can actually, the time that you're with your family, that you've had the second job and you're not with them, you make it up with quality time when you are with your family. Okay, so it might make it just easier to be with your family because now you're not stressed over work because you have that extra money from your second job. And friends also, same type of thing. So, what can we do to create more income for ourselves? Renting, working from home, selling, teaching, driving, personal services. I'm not going to elaborate on that. What's the word that I'm looking for? Elaborate on that. And home services, but we'll get into that a little bit more. So, renting. Let's go that route a little bit. Income and cash flow solutions. Do you have room in your home? Can you rent out a room in your home? Have you thought about that as a possibility? Okay? Sounds awful because now you have to bring in somebody else that you don't really know. Are you that type of person? That's one of the things that I thought about actually when I had my first home when I was single. And I actually took in a roommate. It was the best decision I ever made because he was as trustworthy. I've left the diamond ring on the table. It would still be there, when I came back or cash. It was perfect, and he paid for half of my mortgage on my house on a regular basis. It was wonderful. That's just one way of doing it. Your house is storage space. Can you rent out a storage space, to somebody? If you have a garage on your house, maybe rent out that part. When I was going to college, there was no parking. So I asked one of the people that owned a home in the area if I could park my car at his driveway. And he charged me a little bit, and I was able to afford that, and it was great. I was able to walk to college. I was thinking about it, well, if I ever had a house, I would do the same thing and help college kids and get a little extra money. So there might be a way of doing that as well. Ideal roommates, pilots, traveling nurses, people who are taking a new job in the area. Do you live near a major company that hires lots of people, like Harris, or Grumman? They have a lot of people coming in right now. These people are professionals. There might be a way for you to make more money that way. Creative Airbnb. People rent out their houses. I had a lady at my house recently who told me she has a house. She does the Airbnb, and people come in on a monthly basis and pay her a lot of money for a separate room in her house. Foreign exchange students. Craigslist, I'm not too keen on because you never know who you're going to get with Craigslist. But there are ways of doing that if you have extra room in your home. What else? Consulting services. Do you have an expertise that you can share with other people? Media experts, gardening, curriculum, decorations, anything. What's your expertise? There are meetup groups out there that you can share your expertise with and possibly get income for those expertise that you have. That's a creative way. Childcare. Do you have room in your home for children? Would you want children in your home? It's the other thing. If you don't want a roommate, maybe you don't want the kids either. That's a possibility. Surveys. Another alternative. There are companies out there that hiring people to do surveys for them. And you can do that to make some extra money. There's YouTube blogging, there's appointment setting. People Per Hour is a website for professionals in technology and graphic designs, finding people to put in certain areas. So the computer has opened up a variety of different ways of making more income for yourself on a monthly basis. And these are just, some ideas. That doesn't mean that, you have to do any of these. It's just a matter of what your specific idea to gain income is. Common ones like Avon, Mary Kay. I remember my ex-wife started doing Mary Kay for a little while. She enjoyed doing that. It just depends what your abilities are. Be more creative. Vending machines, eBay. There was somebody, did you ever try to go on eBay and actually sell something It's not easy, but once you learn it, you can do it for other people and charge them a 10% commission for doing that, okay? There was an eBay store at one time that I took some things to because I didn't really have time to do the eBay thing. I took it to the store, they got 10% and they sold, my goods. I'm thinking, wow, what a great business this is. Somebody's making extra money. The average person can do that as well. What do you love to do as an individual? Tutoring? Are you good at something that you can teach kids, that you can teach other adults? Giving lessons from your home? Piano lessons, guitar lessons? What do you enjoy doing? I started taking some piano lessons a while ago for the first time in my life. Didn't like it because I'm kind of self-taught on the piano, but I tried it, and I'm thinking, wow, this guy's making, $100 per lesson, for me. That was significant for me, well, for me and my wife at the time. But good for him. It could be anything: sewing, jewelry making, painting, knitting, any craft. Like my client who's doing the woodworking. What's your expertise? What are you good at? Try to monetize that. Make more money doing that. And of course, there's online classes, social media, big right now. Anybody on Facebook? Okay. What other social media sites are there out there? LinkedIn, okay, Twitter. How do you monetize Facebook nowadays? Can you do that? Can anybody do that? There are a lot of ways of doing it. You don't know? Go on Facebook. There are ways of monetizing it. You can go into certain areas of Facebook for shopping and do online surveys, and they'll pay you for that. Extra money, extra income. What would you do with an extra $200, $300, $500 a month? Can you pay off your bills a little bit quicker? I would. My son, who is in hospitality management in Orlando, found that he really was struggling to make ends meet. So I said, well, why don't you become an Uber driver? Uber is big. And he thought about it. He said he's not really into picking up strange people. And then he came back to me the next week and said, Dad, I'm making deliveries for restaurants through Uber. I said, what? I go to, somebody calls up Uber, they place an order. I don't know, it's called something, Food to You, I think is the name of it. They place an order at the restaurant, and I go online, and the restaurant, I pick up the food and I deliver the food to them, and they tip me, and I get paid by Uber at the same time. He's making an extra $150 a week doing that. I mean, what can you do with the extra $600 a month? It's paying for all of his, incidentals, and all the expenses, and he only works, a couple of hours on the weekends doing it. Okay, I thought that was great. They have Lyft.com, again, for Uber-type services. You could become a driver on the weekends nowadays. We had one of our state reps, I'll go nameless, a friend of mine, was actually an Uber driver for a while doing that, making extra money, because state reps only get paid, $39,000 a year or something like that, right? So he was making extra money doing that. I felt like calling him up and making him drive me around, but I didn't want to do that to him. Wedding photography, do you like taking pictures? Are you a camera bug? A shutter bug? Videography? Kids' mobile car washes, okay? Now, these are adults here, right? So what if you brought kids and made them do the car wash and give them some money? You kind of structure it and organize it and make them do the car washes and take a little bit off the top. Not easy to do, but you can still do it for the kids. They get some money, you get some money, everybody's happy. And now you've structured another business on the weekend, okay? DJ services. I'm a notary public, okay? Typically for my clients, I don't charge, when I do the notaries or for other people that come in, but as notary public, you can charge, I think it's $15 a signature now, okay? It's not hard to become a notary public. You become a minor government official and you keep a log and make that happen. That's extra money. Just advertise yourself as a notary public, put a sign out. You'll be surprised how many people need that type of service, especially here in a government building. Personal caregiver, a shopper. There are older people out there that can't make it to the grocery store, so they have their food delivered. Or they want to go to the grocery store, they just have no way of getting there. Why can't you help them and be their guide, be their wheels to get them to the grocery store, and charge them for that. There are ways, again, of making additional money. Again, creative ways of doing it, but can be done. House cleaning. We have somebody that comes into my office and cleans, once a month. And when I ask her, I pay her, I think, like $60 or something for the office work. She has 100 and some odd clients a month that she does this, and gets, a decent amount of money. She's talking about investing with me right now, as a house cleaner, as an office cleaner. I mean, if you have extra time, yeah, you're giving up, some of your free time, but it's a matter of making extra money that anybody can do. If you like cleaning and you're good at it, go for it. I mean, that's a great way of doing it, actually. So, what do we need to do to close that income gap? You first have to identify those financial goals that you have. That's number one with any situation. What do you want to achieve in life? Do you want that new car? Do you want that new home? Do you want to pay the college expenses for your children? Do you want to save for retirement? Plan it out. Most people never do it. They just kind of work day to day. They never really think about what their ultimate goals are. We're only here for a short amount of time in this world. Think about having fun. Think about making a difference. Think about paying your expenses along the way and making a little extra. That makes life so much more interesting and so much more fun when you have extra money to do what you need to do and what you want to do. Determine that income gap. Use that budget sheet that I gave out. Very, very important. It'll show you the surplus or the deficit. And you really might be surprised at what you find. Use some of the common ways or some of the creative ways that I discussed to bring up your monthly income. Some things may work, some things may not. You may not want somebody in your home, but you might find that you're good at organizing kids at a car wash. I mean, who knows? And figure out how to get multiple streams of income. And don't discount, even if it's just small amounts. I mean, when I'm walking down the street, it's funny, I'll be looking down and I'll see a dime or I'll see the penny. I'll pick up that penny and I'll throw it in, with my other coins. And one day I find that I have, hundreds of dollars worth of coins that I just throw in a jar. It adds up in time. I don't know how, it just does. I'd rather it be in my pocket than the government's or somebody else's, right? So, now that you have more income, and you're doing that every month, you should have more money than month, with any luck. You'll be a little bit more confident about your money, because it's funny, when you have extra money, you're not stressed anymore. You're making clearer decisions. A lot of people think when you have a lot of money, you're a lot smarter. That's not necessarily the case. The people that have the most money in this world are not necessarily the smartest people. Sometimes they're just the luckiest, We struggle to try to make ends meet. The smartest people are the ones that understand the differences between their income and their expenses and how to maximize all of that for themselves and their families and the ones that they love. Pay down those credit cards. Debt is the thing that's going to kill our society in time. So pay down those credit cards. Don't pay the interest rates that they're demanding of you. And that will lead to a lot less stress for you individually as well. With more money, you'll be able to pay your basic bills, your daily bills, weekly bills. You'll have your emergency stash. Make sure that's important, 3 to 6 months as we discussed. And then, what do you want to save for? You want to save for that vacation that you couldn't take beforehand? Do you want to save for your retirement? I'm a firm believer in living life and saving for the future at the same time. Accountants typically look at the past. Financial advisors look toward the future, okay? So I assume you're going to live. I assume you're going to be healthy. If that's the case, what do you want to do with your money? How do you want to do it? You can only do 4 things with money. Spend it on yourself, give it to beneficiaries. When they told me this, I was amazed. You can give it to a charity, or you can give it back to the government. Choose. Those are the only 4 choices that you have. What do you want to do? Yeah, you want to spend it on yourself? You want to give it back to the government? Is that what you want to do? So, how do we do this? Engage with a personal money coach if you're having issues. They have that here with Cigna. You can explore all the options. You can talk to your EAP people here. Look at dates and checkpoints. They'll measure your progress along the way, and then ultimately, hopefully, you'll celebrate that success. You'll have more money than month, and the expenses that you have for yourself will be all taken care of. How do we do it? Contact your EAP for your free financial referral. You'll have a consultation with a specialist, and they'll discuss all of your options with you at that point. Questions? Comments? You want to go over that budget a little bit? I'm going to sing again? Yes?
Have you, talked to anybody about using something like Mint or any of those apps or, Quicken or something like that where it downloads your checking account transactions or credit card transactions and it categorizes, you can put like fast food, restaurant, gas.
Right, you can.
rent,
That's a fancy way of using this, basically. Yes, you can use the computer to use your, get a budget for yourself as well. Excellent way of doing it if you're computer literate. If you want to do that, absolutely, use that as spreadsheets will come out.
That's an eye-opener.
Oh, yeah, it certainly can be. And there are just so many ways of utilizing your money. Once you find that you have a surplus, that's when the fun begins, because then you have to realize, well, what do I want to do with this extra money? But first you have to get there. You have to make that surplus happen. And that's what this seminar was really about, trying to make that surplus happen. Once you have that surplus, then we have other discussions at that point, where you want to put that money. IRAs, you could still save for your retirement if that's big in other ways than your pension and your 457 plan or 403B. Okay, there are other ways of saving for your retirement. Certainly, if you have kids, if you want them to go to college, there's 529 plans, there's the Florida prepaid. I mean, if you make money, there are ways of spending it. Don't worry about that. There's always ways of utilizing your money. But you just have to get there first. You have to have that surplus. Well, I thank you. I thank you for your time. We have evaluation sheets up there. I would like everybody to fill out that. They do read that. I read that to make sure that I've completed what I have to complete. You can make comments about the song.
Yeah, they know what you want.
Thank you so much, Alan.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And no questions? Nothing else? Yes?
So, do you have, is there like certain percentages that, say your home is supposed to be X amount of percentage of your income, and then you should be saving X amount of percentage of your income, and then
Right.
return should be a certain percentage?
There are guidelines for all of that. There's, debt to income ratios. There are a lot of different guidelines for that. But the bottom line is you are going to have to do your own budget. You're going to have to see what your income is, what your expenses are, and you have to do that before you make decisions for any major purchase. Because, look, everybody would like to live in $1 million home. I can't afford that. I know that I can't afford that because I'm not going to be able to afford the mortgage on $1 million home and no taxes on that. So once you figure out what your individual spending plan is, what your budget is, then you'll be able to kind of judge what your abilities to pay all of your debt is. That's why you want to look for that surplus at the end.
But is there like a certain percentage that you would suggest for retirement savings?
Well, certainly, if you're able to put somewhere between 10 and 15% of your income towards retirement, that would be wonderful. Okay, but if you go down, you go down the sheet, all these percentages add up. They might add up to more than 100% by the time you're finished. And what happened to all my income? I'm paying off my debt. My debt to income ratio should be 28%. My home to income ratio should be 35%. I mean, it's very hard to judge that because that really has to be more individual. You just don't know. My suggestion would be to live below your means. If you live below your means, you'll always have a little bit extra, for yourself and for family and for friends, and to do what you want, and you won't have that stress. That my best suggestion would be that. Percentages, they're all no. If you want to get back to percentages, it's all very, very individual. It's very hard to judge that, and we had to do percentages on calculations for the exams that we took. They don't really work practically for most people. So because everybody's situation is so different. Yeah. Anything else?
About the old, I used to think that, and it always worked for me, that your mortgage shouldn't be more than 35% of your household gross, and then all other expenses in addition to that should not be more than 50% of your household gross.
If that works for you and you can do that, that's fine. So you'll have 15% extra to put towards retirement, that 15% that I told you before, which would be fine. But then what about emergencies? What about living? What about that vacation that you want?
That's
What
why
about,
it's good to look at all the things on this list and see where you're
Hey,
wasting money.
there you go.
Money. I read a really good book, and I don't know the woman's name, but she writes for MSN, 10 Commandments of Money.
Okay.
And she said, take 1 month and don't spend anything, don't spend $1 that you don't absolutely have to spend, and see how much you have left at the end of the month.
And that's going to be individual. What do you not have to spend? Somebody really might really want that McDonald's burger. They really need that McDonald's burger, whatever that is.
That day, then that's not.
So that's where it becomes individual. So you have to really understand the needs versus wants. And really, if you're just walking down and you're shopping, just think about it. Do I need this or do I want this? Have that question in your mind, and you'll see what a difference it makes in your expenses on a monthly basis. It'll be so interesting. When somebody told me the 4 ways to utilize money in this world, it blew me away because it's really true. Spend it on yourself and the people that you love. Leave it to beneficiaries. Give it to a charity or give it back to the government. That's really it. So what do you want to do? And then you have to figure out if you want to spend it on yourself. I tell my clients, if you tell me the day that you're going to die, I'll make sure we can spend every penny to that moment, okay? But nobody can do that. So we have to figure out how much you want to leave, how much you want to spend, where you want to go with it in life. Again, I thank you. Please fill out the evaluation sheets. I'm here for any further questions that you may have.